Look at your brokerage account right now, look at the screen, and tell me if your hand is shaking because the macro chessboard just caught on fire. If you are sitting there checking your phone every 3 minutes, waiting for some random financial guru to tell you everything is going to be fine, wake up, the mainstream media is out here feeding you gentle bedtime stories. But today we are diving headfirst into the cold, hard, asset-shattering truth. President Trump is officially holding emergency meetings with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu today, and top military intelligence sources are confirming that joint military operations against the Iranian regime could restart as soon as this week. At the exact same time, senior strategic analysts just dropped a bombshell 5-year warning regarding a potential Chinese amphibious invasion of Taiwan. This is not just some distant political drama that you can ignore while you casually dollar-cost average into index funds, because this is an all-out winner take. All war for the absolute future of global artificial intelligence hardware infrastructure. If you think your portfolio is immune to geopolitical shockwaves just because you hold a couple of shares of blue-chip tech stocks, you are actively lying to yourself to keep from panicking. Let us break down the raw, unfiltered data from the front lines so you can actually understand how this chaos is going to directly impact your net worth, your trading strategy, and your long-term survival in this market. First, let us look at the absolute stalemate happening over in the Middle East because Tehran has been playing a classic high-stakes game of deception and delay. Regional intelligence reports indicate that Iranian officials fully believe they could drag out these diplomatic peace talks for at least another 2 weeks, using massive international events like the upcoming World Cup in America's 250th anniversary celebrations as a geopolitical shield to complicate any Western return to open warfare. But guess what? Their little clock-stalling strategy just completely backfired, because Donald Trump's strategic patience has officially run out. On his return flight from China, Trump made it crystal clear that he took one look at the very first sentence of the Iranian counterproposal and literally threw it in the trash can because it was entirely unacceptable. The Iranian regime tried to play cute with the wording, but Trump's mandate is absolute zero nuclear capability of any form, no exceptions, and no compromise. Because 20 years of empty diplomatic promises is not enough protection for the global economy. If you want a visual representation of how intense things are behind closed doors, just look at what Trump posted overnight on Truth Social. He blasted out a series of highly calculated AI-generated images, one showing him standing directly inside a high-tech Space Force control center, with massive missiles actively tracking across the screens behind him, and another commanding the entire United States Navy with the ominous caption, "It was the calm before the storm." This is not just social media grandstanding, it is a direct psychological warfare message to global markets that the era of strategic patience is officially dead and buried. Naturally, the Iranian state media is crying foul, accusing Washington of constantly shifting its negotiating position and showing complete confusion regarding its wartime objectives, pointing out that the U.S. previously claimed to have completely neutralized their nuclear facilities, yet is now threatening to bomb those exact same coordinates again. But while the politicians argue over who lied to whom, the actual military muscle is shifting on the global map. The massive USS Gerald R. Ford Carrier Strike Group just officially returned to the United States after a grueling deployment that stands as the absolute longest carrier mission since the entire Vietnam War. The Secretary of War, Pete Hegseth, praised the crew for exhibiting absolute resolve and epic fury across 3 trips around the globe. But let us be real about what this means for our defense capabilities. Even with that carrier group back home, the United States still has tens of thousands of active service members deeply embedded across the Middle East, meaning our military apparatus is stretched incredibly thin. And that brings us directly to the absolute nightmare scenario that Wall Street is desperately trying to price in right now. The 5-year countdown for Taiwan. A highly publicized war game simulated by the Center for Strategic and International Studies recently revealed a terrifying vulnerability in the American defense industrial complex. The simulation proved that in the event of a sudden full-scale Chinese amphibious assault on Taiwan, the United States military would literally run out of precision-guided, long-range missiles within less than 7 days. Think about that for a second before you go YOLOing your hard-earned capital into random high-leverage tech options. We are already heavily overextended in Europe with the ongoing conflict in Ukraine. We are deeply tied down in the Middle East with Iran. And now our own domestic war games show we do not even have the missile bandwidth to sustain a 1-week conventional conflict against Beijing in the Indo-Pacific region. Retired 4-star General Jack Keane openly admitted that China has completely dominated the United States militarily in that region across virtually every single platform, with the sole exception of our submarine fleet. Now, the Defense Department is frantically trying to patch these massive inventory shortfalls by bringing in high-level appointees with heavy private business backgrounds to completely accelerate corporate ammunition production. But manufacturing military-grade hardware is not like spinning up a new software update. It takes months, sometimes years, to build out the precision components required to secure Admiral Paparo's Pacific Fleet requirements. So why is Beijing acting so aggressive right now? And why does Xi Jinping keep telling his inner circle that Taiwan is ours? It is not just about historical pride or sovereign borders, it is about total, absolute technological dominance over the entire human race. The most advanced silicon semiconductor chips on planet Earth are exclusively manufactured on the island of Taiwan. Every single high-end graphic processing unit, every advanced AI chip that powers companies like NVIDIA, Microsoft, Google, and Meta originates from that specific geographic hotspot. General Keane stated it perfectly. Whoever completely owns that island and its semiconductor manufacturing infrastructure is going to completely own the future of artificial intelligence development for the next century. This is a secondary hypercritical technological mission that is driving global superpower conflict. And it means the entire global tech sector is effectively sitting on a geopolitical active volcano. So, how do the United States and Israel plan to handle the immediate threat from Iran while this broader Cold War with China heats up? The strategy being prepared behind closed doors this week is brutal, absolute, and designed for total regime destruction. The plan is to completely dismantle their remaining military capability, neutralize the remnants of their underground nuclear elements, and simultaneously choke off every single remaining revenue stream to force a total economic collapse. The Pentagon wants to forcefully reopen the critical Straits of Hormuz to secure global shipping lines, but doing so means entering a period of maximum volatility for the energy markets. The reason Iran wanted a diplomatic deal in the first place was simple: they did not want to cooperate. They just wanted to survive and recover by unlocking over $100 billion in frozen assets and getting international economic sanctions removed. Trump realized that cutting a soft deal would essentially mean Western capital would be directly financing the recovery of an adversary, so the diplomatic path is officially dead. Now, let us take off the geopolitical war helmet and put on our hardcore financial analyst hats because we need to talk about what this means for your money. When global energy corridors like the Strait of Hormuz are threatened, crude oil does not just drift higher, it spikes violently. And when oil stays elevated above $100 a barrel for a sustained period, it acts as a massive regressive tax on the entire global consumer base. This means transportation costs surge, manufacturing expenses skyrocket, and the domestic consumer price index gets driven right back into the inflationary danger zone. If you think the Federal Reserve is going to rescue your portfolio by slashing interest rates by 50 basis points, while global energy markets are on fire, you are living in a complete fantasy world. Sticky inflation means interest rates stay higher for significantly longer, which squashes the valuation multiples of highly speculative, unprofitable tech stocks. This is exactly why you need to stop acting like a reckless retail gambler who buys random digital coins and penny stocks based on internet hype. Your small account principal is not going to survive a massive macro correction if you are constantly chasing high beta garbage. Your primary non-negotiable mission right now is to protect your capital and ensure that your money is actively running faster than the real rate of inflation. When the geopolitical landscape turns into an absolute quagmire, institutional smart money doesn't run toward speculative tech startups. It flees toward massive cash-flowing, fortress, balance sheet assets. This is the exact environment where core foundational index funds like VOA, which tracks the SP 500, and dividend growth powerhouses like CHD become absolute sanctuary plays for your wealth. Let us run the cold math right now so you can actually see the staggering power of long-term compounding when you choose stability over speculation if you are starting out with a clean portfolio value of $50,000. And you commit to a disciplined, unyielding strategy of biweekly dollar cost averaging, adding exactly $500 into a basket of high-quality index funds every single pay period. Look at how a minor difference in your long-term annualized return completely alters your retirement reality over a 30-year horizon. If you get sloppy, pick bad entry points, or let inflation eat away your purchasing power, resulting in a modest 6% net annualized return over 30 years, your portfolio will finish at approximately $1,180,000. That sounds decent until you realize what 30 years of inflation will do to the purchasing power of $1 million. But if you stay hyper-focused, reinvest every single dividend, utilize fundamental tools to avoid overvalued tech traps, and capture a solid, historical 9% annualized return through the compounding powerhouse of the top 500 companies in VOO, your final portfolio balance after 30 years rockets to an astronomical $2,480,000. That is a massive life-altering difference of over $3 million completely determined by just a 3% variance in your compounding efficiency. That is the real math of wealth building, and you do not achieve that upper tier trajectory by panic, selling your long-term holdings every single time a military headline flashes across your television screen. You achieve that level of financial freedom by training your psychology to look at geopolitical corrections as massive discounted gifts from the market. When the retail crowd is panicking because of missile defense headlines, institutional liquidity desks are systematically sweeping up shares of elite, cash-generating corporations at deep discounts. Look at how a massive enterprise like Microsoft or Apple utilizes its fortress balance sheet to navigate these global supply chain crises. Even if Taiwan faces a severe 5-year risk, these mega cap tech giants have the capital expenditures budget to completely relocate their supply chains, invest tens of billions into domestic foundry infrastructure, and continue printing billions of dollars in free cash flow regardless of short-term disruptions. So instead of laying awake at night worrying about things you cannot control, focus entirely on the variables you completely command: your savings rate, your emotional discipline, and your systematic investment execution. Stop wasting your hard-earned cash on overpriced consumer luxuries. Stop driving an expensive, depreciating status symbol vehicle that drains your monthly cash flow, and stop trying to impress people you do not even like with money you have not actually secured yet. Take that excess capital, strip out the lifestyle inflation, and aggressively pump it into core foundational, long-term assets while the rest of the world is paralyzed by fear. The macro trend is always your friend until the very end, but you have to be smart enough to recognize which trends are structural and which trends are just temporary geopolitical noise if you want real, unvarnished fundamental data to help you navigate this crazy market without losing your mind. You need to be tracking cash flows, EBITDA margins, and structural revenue lines with absolute precision. Make sure you smash that subscribe button right now so you never miss a single raw, hard-hitting macro update. Drop a comment below letting me know exactly how you are positioning your personal portfolio to handle this developing Taiwan chip crisis and the looming escalation in Iran. Stay disciplined, keep your eyes fixed entirely on the data, protect your principal at all costs, and I will see you guys in the next video.